press conference. Action SA really appreciates your participation. We appreciate always being there for us to announce wonderful news. I know myself and my team at Action SA this morning are excited to deliver the news that we're about to deliver to you this morning. I welcome a full house of members of the media. It's really fantastic that you could join us this morning. This morning's program is not a long one. Literally, we're going to have, straight after I welcome you now, we're going to have Mr. Mashaba give us his news, and then we're going to open for Q&A. You may ask questions by raising your hand, your virtual hand, or you can, put your video back on, and I will, recognize you and give you a moment to ask your question. Otherwise, you can also use the chat function to ask your questions, and then I will ask your questions on your behalf. My name is Lerato Ngobeni. I'm the national spokesperson for Action SA, and I am conducting and I will be facilitating this morning's discussion. Without further ado, let me open the floor to the president of Action SA, Mr. Herman Mashaba, to deliver his news, his breaking news this morning. Mr. Mashaba, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Lerato, and fellow South Africans, good morning. Fellow South Africans, as you've all known me, I've never been one known to beat about the bush, and I'm not going to do that today. I come before you to announce my decision to run as a candidate in Action SA's mayoral candidate election, and with your support, run to be the mayor of the city of Johannesburg in the upcoming local government elections in October later this year. The decision to make myself available as a candidate in this election has been one I have wrestled with for some time. As president of Action SA, I've had the opportunity to travel the length and breadth of our beautiful country. And while the problem may seem impossible, South Africans are hopeful that the new political leadership can finally bring positive and permanent change to their lives. It is an indictment on our political system that 27 years into our democracy, that there are communities that have never known running water in their taps, still use a candle every night to light their homes because they've never had access to electricity. They stumbled in dust squatter camps because there are no street lights. Families who've never held the title deed and truly called any place home, and communities which live in fear of criminals because police are in cahoots with criminals. I believe together we can bring the change our people need. I believe Action SA can be the force for that change. Now more than ever, I believe that change starts by rebuilding our country from the ground up, community by community, ward by ward, municipality by municipality, right up to the very top at the Union Building in Pretoria. The work of rebuilding our nation starts with local government elections and then getting Johannesburg, the heartbeat of this beautiful country, back on track. I've said it before, and I will say it again. If Johannesburg works, South Africa works. I'm ready to work with every resident to get our Johannesburg working. Truth be told, when I left as a mayor a little over 2 years ago, I was disappointed that I was unable to complete the mission that I've set out, certainly not under the party I then worked with. As a multi-party coalition government, we wanted to drive an agenda that, for the first time in Johannesburg's history, focus on getting the basics of service delivery right, while also prioritizing a pro-poor and an inclusive agenda that benefited all residents of our city. In the end, the coalition government with me as a mayor and my former party could not, unfortunately, see eye to eye on this. So I left. But the people of Johannesburg have remained close to my heart. In fact, it is in response to your calls that after my resignation that I started the People's Dialogue and ultimately launched Action SA in August last year. So now, I'm asking you, the residents of Johannesburg, to once again afford me the honor and privilege to serve you and to complete the work we began in 2016. Although the multi-party government made many strides during my tenure as mayor, there's no doubt that there's still much to do in order to get our city back to work. Much of the progress made by the multi-party government, which I led, has been reversed by the present administration. Residents have suffered the brunt of a decline in key services needed to lead a dignified and fulfilled lives. From rapidly worsening road and transport infrastructure, declining access to water, hygiene and sanitation services, homelessness, poor housing and urban accommodation, deteriorating conditions in the inner city, rampant crime, and the unreliable supply of electricity. Even when ESCOM generators are miraculously working, the city is in a state of crisis. Making matters worse, poorly managed urban migration coupled with high unemployment, particularly amongst the youth, has not made things any easier for residents, more especially in the face of COVID-19 that we are facing today. Unfortunately, when residents rightfully point out the lack of service delivery, they are served multiple excuses. This, ladies and gentlemen, cannot continue. Local government sits at the coalface of service delivery. All other spheres of government are dependent on it for delivery. If we cannot get local government working, very little else in government will work. I'm committed to getting Johannesburg working, not only for its own sake, but for the sake of our country. During my 3 years as a mayor, we started to make real progress and see real changes as we embarked on a mammoth task of turning the city of Johannesburg around. We initiated a massive investment program to address the city's 170 billion rands infrastructure backlogs by reprioritizing billions from luxuries and wasteful expenditure towards things that matter most to the residents of our city. In doing so, we resurfaced almost 1,000 kilometers of roads and tarred 88 kilometers of gravel roads throughout the city. We replaced almost 2,000 kilometers of water pipes and over 125 kilometers of sewer pipes, reducing bursts and blockages. We electrified over 10,000 households for the first time and provided over 11,000 ablution facilities to those without basic sanitation. We improved access to primary health care by opening 6 new clinics and rolled out 10 mobile clinics to reach the most remote residents in our city. We expanded Johannesburg Metropolis with an additional 1,500 officers to fight crime and make residents feel safer in their city. We started to address the city's housing backlog by initiating site and services projects, delivered over 9,000 fully serviced stands for families to build their own homes. We also delivered 7,000 housing opportunities and issued nearly 8,000 title deeds to families who had waited for decades for their homes. We succeeded in launching the Inner City Rejuvenation Project that handed over 154 hijacked buildings to the private sector to build low-cost, affordable accommodation for students, private citizens, and small businesses. This was set to generate about 14,500 accommodation units to achieve 32 billion rands in investment and ultimately create 24,000 permanent jobs. We established a unique in-house anti-corruption unit led by a former member of the Scorpions, investigated more than 6,000 cases involving 35 billion rands in transactions and made over 800 arrests. Through our efforts, we're pleased to see an increase in resident service delivery satisfaction from 61% in 2016 when we took over to 73% in 2019 when I left, the highest in the history of the city. Our efforts and successes over the 3 years have demonstrated that change is possible, but it requires competent and ethical leaders with a decisive mandate from the community. Today, I'm putting my name forward to serve you, the residents of Johannesburg, once more. And once you give me the mandate, I resume the work of bringing real change, Diphetogo, to the people of Johannesburg. I'm sure you can remember the Diphetogo project that we ran when I was the mayor. More broadly, this is the kind of change I know Action SA will bring to all our communities. We will bring change that creates an ethical and professional public service that serves our people. We will bring change that restores the rule of law by ensuring law enforcement authorities are capacitated to execute their duties with distinction, and that they serve the communities with an understanding and compassion. And we will bring change that revitalizes our cities, get them moving and working so that we may restore the dignity that comes with work to all our people, to enable them to provide for their loved ones, live in safe spaces, and have access to basic services. This is my hope for Johannesburg and what I know Action SA will bring to the city of Johannesburg. To the residents of Johannesburg, I would now like to ask you that if you have my vision for our city, please endorse me as your mayoral candidate by visiting Mashaba for mayor.co.za. As we embark on Action SA primary election process, I look forward to engaging every resident of Johannesburg alongside my fellow candidates who will be running alongside me for the mayoralty on how we can rebuild our city of Johannesburg. May God bless our beloved Johannesburg, and may God bless South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so very much, Mr. Mashaba. Colleagues, I am admitting some few more of our colleagues into the conference. However, I open now for the Q&A, question and answer session. As I said at the beginning, you are allowed to raise your hand if you want to speak to me, or raise your hand virtually, or put back your video so we can see you and you can raise your hand. I do have one question in the chat function. You're allowed to use that. I see Mukhadi Abdul. Mukhadi, please tell us where you're from and pose your question to Mr. Mashaba. I will take 3 rounds of questions at a time. We will note those. Mr. Mashaba will respond, and then I'll take another round of questions. Mukhadi Abdul, the floor is yours.
Good morning, leadership. I'm from Pretoria, in Ward 90 for Action SA. Now, I'm concerned about the municipality of Tshwane. I just want to know what's the plan for Mr. President as to engage with the Tshwane municipality for mayoral candidates, rather having into own the 2 municipal cities. They play a bigger role in the Gauteng economy, which is, Tshwane and Pretoria, they play, Joburg and Pretoria, they play a bigger role into the economy. Now, what's the plan? Because I hear you emphasizing the issue of Johannesburg, but what about the one in Tshwane? What are the issues that perhaps are not pushing us into leading the municipality or holding us back into pushing the municipality?
Thank you, Mukhadi. Thank you, Mukhadi. May I do ask colleagues that we try and keep our questions short and precise. Time is not our friend. Also, I am not sure if you're an Action SA member who has logged into this call. Please hold your questions for another time. This is a press conference and only members of the media are allowed to ask questions. You may pop your questions into the chat function. We will record it and then we will get back to you. Mr. Mashaba, I hope that our colleagues can help you record the questions so that we're able to respond to them. I now open to, I think it's SABC, Natasha Piri, you are next.
Thank you, Lerato. Mr. Mashaba, thank you so much for this press briefing. I just want to know, since you've announced that you are going to be running as the mayor of Johannesburg, which mayoral candidates will be running in Ekurhuleni and the city of Tshwane? And furthermore, in terms of this new electoral system that you unveiled about a month ago, I just want to know, South Africans aren't so familiar with this electoral system in regards with the primaries. So how will you ensure that more people actually vote for your representatives? And are you confident that you'll probably get a good win at the polls? Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. I will take one more hand from Christian Duplessis.
Good morning, Mr. Mashaba. I would like to know, is Action SA going to focus in the municipal election on Gauteng specifically, or is it the whole country, since it's a new party? And have you given forward to coalition governments for Action SA? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christian. Can you tell us which media house you represent?
Sorry, I'm from Netwerk 24. Thank you.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Mr. Mashaba, that's a round of 3 questions, the first to go. I recognize the other hands, but Mr. Mashaba, please let's take answers for this first round.
Okay, thank you very much, colleagues. Let me start with Mokhadi. As much as I believe he's an Action SA member, Mokhadi, as you are aware, as Action SA, about a month or so ago, we launched the first of its kind in South Africa. We committed to bring in electoral reform to South Africa. That's why we said for you to really be a public representative, particularly for the 3 metros in Gauteng, because we've had enough time to really start the process. So as for Tshwane and Ekurhuleni, we do have people who've thrown in their head in the ring. Sometime beginning of June, we are going to have elections for ward councillors, for PR councillors, including mayors. My reason for actually announcing mine, because as a leader of the party, I'm sure for South Africans, they are aware, sometime last year, I've made the decision that I will not really stand. But because we're a party that listens, I can tell you I've been under tremendous pressure the last few months from our people on the ground here in the city of Johannesburg to say, Mashaba, please stand. And obviously not wanting to really be arrogant. The project of 2021 is really very crucial for us because ultimately, we don't have a municipal problem, we have a national problem. But our national program for 2024 is totally dependent on our success in 2021. And therefore, I then obviously reflected on this matter, consulted with my team, and ultimately made the decision to say, let me listen to the people so that we can increase our chances of outright success in the city of Johannesburg. So the mayors of the city of Tshwane and Ekurhuleni are going through the same rigorous program, because for me, as much as I'm making myself available, that does not really mean that I'm automatically the candidate for Action SA. I am going to go through the same process as all the other mayors in terms of people of the city of Johannesburg ultimately deciding whether Herman Mashaba is going to be the mayoral candidate, or they might obviously really decide on someone else. Natasha from SABC, I think I've really answered your question regarding Tshwane and Ekurhuleni. One thing I can tell you, we've got really very exciting, very prominent South Africans who've made themselves available, people that personally I feel elected by the people to really be our mayoral candidates. They'll be able to really serve our people. Let the process run, a transparent, fair, equitable process, a fair one, where people of Tshwane and Ekurhuleni, including Johannesburg, who can then decide on behalf of Action SA who becomes ultimately their mayor for the city. You were talking about, obviously, I think the process being the first of its kind in South Africa, with a big number of our people who do not really have access to technology. It is for that reason, as Action SA, we committed to actually physically run elections on the ground, ward by ward. Once we close the candidate election process. Yes, some people will be able to vote online. Very secured process that I'm quite convinced that IEC can really learn from. But however, we know there are people out there in communities who do not really have access to technology. We are going to really run physical elections beginning of June. The dates will be announced in due course, where ordinary South Africans who do not have access to technology can actually go out and vote in free and fair election. And we invite you as the media. We invite you as the media to assist us in ensuring that that our elections are not rigged, because we want this process to really be free and fair. And I'm really glad to really let you know that we will soon announce a competent professional company that is going to be our IEC. That is going to really ensure that our elections are not monitored by us as Action SA, are going to be monitored by a professional company with massive experience in running elections, not only helping in South Africa, helping in other parts of the world. And Christian, do you want to know whether we're going to be contesting throughout the country? I'm afraid not. I would really have wished to contest all 278 municipalities, but I'm sure you're aware, we just launched this party in August last year in the midst of COVID-19. So for us from a capacity point of view, there's just no way that we can ever even begin to really want to really contest all municipalities. We have calls, we have structures throughout the country, people calling for us to contest. However, it is not humanly possible. What I can promise people of South Africa is that Action SA will be ready to contest national and provincial election in 2024. While we're now busy focusing on the 3 metros of Gauteng, that is Ekurhuleni, Johannesburg, and Tshwane, you are aware about a month ago, we made an announcement on eThekwini. So we've got 4 metros that we are contesting. Our Senate actually will be sitting tomorrow, where some of our colleagues are going to really be giving us proposal on some of the municipalities for the Senate of Action SA to consider. We might announce the further municipalities where we are going to contest, but we can only contest municipalities where there's a very strong business case that will make an impact. So we've left it to our members, we've left it to our colleagues, particularly our structures on the ground to really give us the business case. So we are going to listen to more proposals tomorrow, and in due course we will announce whether we will participate in extra municipalities than the 4 that we've already committed to run. And our position as far as coalition is concerned, I'm sure South Africans are aware that if there's one man quite experienced in running coalition, it's Herman Mashaba, running a 7-way difficult multi-party situation in the city of Johannesburg when I took over. Coming from the private sector, being put to run a 7-way multi-party government was not an easy feat. I'm sure all of you are aware how ANC from day one made everything possible to collapse this government that I was running, with the DA being the most difficult partner in this arrangement. So we as Action SA, we are saying we are happy in the event that South Africans don't give us a complete mandate. Definitely we are competing to win outright. But at the end of the day, we are not the final decision makers in this process. The voters are the ones who are going to decide whether they give us outright majority or they're going to put us into a coalition. But one thing I want to make it very, very clear, and I want to repeat it, I want to make it very clear. In the event, in all the municipalities we're going to contest, we will go into all the other parties with the exception of the ANC. We will not really work with the ANC in any given situation. We'd rather go for re-election than go into a coalition with the ANC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mashaba. I saw that we had Puleli Treaty. Pule, are you still there? I saw your hand was raised. In the meantime, if you do still want to ask your question, please raise it again. But in the meantime, I have Lizeka Tandwa. Lizeka, please go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Mashaba. This is Lizeka from the Mail and Guardian. Just two questions from me. We've seen that the by-elections results are slowly trickling in, and it seems that the ANC has taken some wards in Johannesburg from the DA. I think it's Ward 27, if I'm correct, that they've reclaimed back. Your reaction to the by-elections is, does this not rattle your cages in terms of what you foresee in October? I also wanted to find out from you if you could get a reaction in terms of what has happened in Zenspreet. Thank you.
Thank you, Lizeka. In the meantime, going through the chat function questions, Mr. Mashaba, please respond to Lizeka's question.
Okay, thank you, Lizeka. Regarding my reaction to the by-election, I'm sure you're aware, I think about a month or so ago, roughly, we as Action SA made a conscious decision not to really participate in this by-election because they were going to really take our focus on the upcoming local government elections scheduled for the 27th of October, 2021. We did not really want to just end up with one council and so forth. We are in this game, Lizeka, to win. We are not in this game to be opposition, sitting with one or two ward councillors. It is for that reason, strategically and deliberately took a decision not to really contest. And I think with ANC winning this election with the turnout that you've witnessed yesterday, Lizeka, I think you know, for us as Action SA actually presents a massive opportunity because our people are saying, you know what, these existing political parties, we're not interested in them. Remember in 2019, 18.3 million people as compared to 17.6 who voted. People of this country said, we are not going to really vote for these existing political parties because they are not offering us anything. However, we are taking as a challenge, we are taking this as a low-hanging fruit. If you look at Action SA from the days of the People's Dialogue, and you look at the big number of the people who, the constituency that engaged us, are those who had also already given up on voting. I remember yesterday, I had on-the-ground activities in Mabopane, ended up in Winterfell, and engaged with what, plus minus 100 of our youth. I can tell you 90% of them, the last election never voted. And I think, I remember in the beginning, I asked them, I said, please tell me those who did not vote last time. I ended up with one or two hands. And I said, fellow South Africans, let us be honest with one another. So this is not about me. I'm asking you this question because I need to open your eyes to something very fundamental. I ended up with more than 90% of those youth who said they never voted. And it gave me an opportunity to explain to them that, colleagues, by not voting, you are actually voting for the ANC. I gave them the states for over the last 3 national elections, how ANC is becoming a dying party with the rural support. ANC is in government today, not of the 10 million people who voted them into power. ANC is in power because you, the voters, are not voting. And I can tell you our message is coming through. The next 6 months, you'll see our campaign. It's actually to reach out to the 18.5 million South Africans who did not vote the last time. And fortunate enough, you can see in a country with 43% unemployment, with a country with a rape capital of the world, the murder capital of the world, people are staying out of voting. That really is an indictment on all of us South Africans, particularly the current political parties that are not appealing to the voters. And as a Action SA, our commitment is to really get those South Africans who stayed away from voting last time to really wake up to this reality. Are we winning? Only the 27th of October will be able to really determine. But our messaging now tomorrow, the next week, the next month, and so forth is going to really be talking to this audience. And the beauty about it is the fact that while we're talking to this 18.3 million, we know all the other parties, including the ANC, their support base is dwindling at a fast pace than anything else. If you think the ANC had a hiding in 2016, wait until you get you see what's going to happen on the 27th of October. They're gonna get serious hiding. Regarding Zanspruit, it's a very, very unfortunate situation, Lizeka. I think where our people are really being pushed to really take the law into their own hands. Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example of transpired just over a week ago in Amanskraal. Some people tried to hijack a victim's car right during the day in Amanskraal in Temba. Fortunate enough, the community intervened. The victim went to the police station to lay charge. The police never responded. The following day, when this matter was brought to my attention, I requested Mr. Abel, our campaign manager, and so on, to go to the police station with the victim. It took them more than 3.5 hours for the police to eventually take a statement because they were refusing. They wanted the criminals to come and apologize. And the following day, remember, I went to Temba police station to go and lodge a complaint to the police. I mean, this is a reflection of the kind of policing that we're sitting with. We are sitting right now with a case just over a year ago. I went to Mashishing police station. A policewoman sexually had molested by the station commander of Mashishing police station. We had the lieutenant, the woman, coming to the meeting which I had with this policewoman, trying to get this policewoman to drop the case because they were trying to protect the police, this police person. I reported this matter almost a year ago to IPED. Up to today, the station commander of Mashishing is still the police, the police person. So you can imagine, I'm giving you a practical example of the collapse of the rule of law in our country. Is this something that we need to encourage? Absolutely not. We cannot operate in an environment where there's no rule of law. That is why we need to really unseat the ANC so that we put a professional police services that can operate outside political interference. You cannot have our police women being exploited by their seniors and nothing is done about it. This is the matter that I've personally even approached the president of the country about it. I said, if we as a country cannot protect our police women, then we've got a major problem in our country. It is really very quite unfortunate. And I can tell you, for us to deal with this virus, the voters of these countries are the ones who've got to become a vaccine and remove the ANC and put an ethical government that can ensure that we have the rule of law back in our country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mashaba. Puleli Chwiti, I see you are back. The floor is yours.
All right. Thank you very much, Lerato, for giving me the opportunity to ask a question. Morning, Mr. Mashaba. Firstly, congratulations on what you just told us. And I just have a set of two questions I want to ask. You've been the mayor of Johannesburg before, and looking at the track record, there were at least a few dirty prints that were on your reputation as well, which included the unlawful appointments in the city during your tenure as being mayor, and this was also in the PP's report. Just to know, have you since appealed the decision? Have you since looked into that decision in regards to the investigation that was underway in your office after two complaints were brought to the Office of the Public Protector? It's one, and maybe two. Now that you are going to contest for this position, one of your concerns has been the number of foreign nationals who are illegal within not only South Africa, but mainly in the city of Johannesburg as well. Is that one of the main aspects, objectives you will be looking at when you come into office in terms of, like you've said, bringing Johannesburg back to its people? is that one of the main things you will be looking to actually, implement and change when you are successful?
Thank you very much, Pule. I do have, sorry, Dr. Mashaba, we do have one more question, but I will ask it after you answer this one because Pule has asked 2 questions and they're quite loaded. I'm just looking at time. So in that interest, please go ahead and respond to Pule's questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Pule. You've asked me two very, very critical questions. The one with the public protector's report. I'm sure you are aware, I'm in the process of taking the public protector's report on review. And I'm 100% confident that I will win that case because those appointments were carried out lawfully, approved by the Council of the City of Johannesburg, unless the public protector, as far as the appointment of senior managers in line with the Municipal Systems Act or so, it is wrong. Because fortunate enough, I have no problem whatsoever. I cannot really wait for my legal people to really get the information from the public protector. We are sitting with a problem, and I'm happy to share it with people, with the media today, with the public protector, because right now our legal people are actually even have applied for a PI application. You remember when the draft report of the public protector came out? 6 media houses in one day before the report came to my attention. And I immediately got my lawyer to find out from the public protector, how come this report was made public? 6 media houses contacting me about this. I even went to lay a criminal charge against whoever leaked this report. Up to today, the public protector has not responded to me. It then subsequently came to our attention that this report from the public protector was sent to as many people as possible from the ANC. And what we wanted to find out from the public protector as to who in the ANC received this report, what interest did they have in this report, and why were they allowed to have a draft report which carried inaccuracies. So we have to really, obviously, I think our lawyers, the last time I spoke to them, was to really get the response from her. She's not really responding. Our lawyers are working on the PI application for the public protector to share with South Africans as to why this draft report was shared widely with the ANC and as a draft report. As South Africans are aware, a draft public protector's report, it's a document that cannot really be leaked. It can only go to affected people because it's a draft report. And to our surprise, it came out the way it was, but we are confident. I'm personally 100% confident that this case that report will be reviewed by an open court of law, so that people of this country can see that we deal and operate in a very abnormal environment. Pule, therefore, I'm less really concerned about this. In terms of illegal foreign nationals, Pule, this is something close to my heart as a South African. I love this country. That's the only thing I have as a South African. We are very, very clear about our position on foreign nationals. As per our Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, this country was built at the back of migrants. And as Action SA, we want to continue on and proceed on the trajectory, on inviting people of the world to come to South Africa. But they must come here legally, and when they are here, they must respect our laws. One thing I can tell you, and I want to make it clear to you as the media, let the people of this country give us the mandate in 2024. I've made a commitment to the people of this country, as per the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. We are going to do a review of all citizenships awarded since 1994, including the Guptas. You remember, you all are aware how the Guptas acquired South African citizenship and our passports. anyone who's we can find to have acquired our citizenship fraudulently, we are not going to show any mercy. This is the country of the rule of law. We had a country that in 1996 adopted a constitution which was hailed as the best constitution in the world, the modern one. But our constitution cannot just be a constitution on paper. For the constitution to have meaning, that means we must practice our constitution. Therefore, as Action SA, we would not let anyone who's in this country illegally, we will not let anyone who acquired our citizenship illegally, we will revoke those citizenship and send those people back to where they came from.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mashaba. I'm seeing the time, we've got 15 minutes left. I have 3 questions in the chat function. One from Robinson of Power FM, and his question is as follows. With Action SA's aggressive campaign, labeling leaders of other parties as criminals and anarchists, how will you negotiate coalitions when that moment dawns? This is a question from Power FM. Question 2 comes from Marie from Pretoria FM. And Marie says, congratulations on this step, Mr. Mashaba. If you can summarize your focus for the upcoming elections in one sentence, what would that be? Should I read that again?
No, I'm okay.
Okay, that's great. That is from first from Marie from Pretoria FM. The last one. This is from Kaugelo from UFM, I believe. And Kaugelo asks, having noted your stance against working with the ANC, kindly also share your attitude towards a possible coalition with the DA. I think Kaugelo entered late. Please reiterate that so that she gets, and everybody else who entered late gets that response. What is your attitude towards a possible coalition with the DA in the event that there are no outright winners? This is from Kaugelo. First question, if I have any more, I will take them if we have time. Otherwise, that's the last round of questions. Mr. Mashaba?
Thank you very much. Robinson, you've been naughty. Robinson, I think if you look at our campaign or our billboard, I think it's not really a question of labeling people. We are questioning the electoral system in our country where political parties impose leaders on society. It is for that reason that 18.3 million South Africans, more people stayed away from voting than anything because of the kind of leadership that political parties actually impose on people. And if you look at the people we've got on our billboard, we put in question marks around them. And the question marks we put around them, these are issues that are known by you, Robinson, are known by South Africans going into Soweto now or going to Amanskral, Haramutsu, where I was born. All the questions that I've asked about those leaders, these are things that are well known. And we are asking South Africans, if we continue having this kind of leadership with such question marks, we're going to see more and more people staying out of our political system. And if this democracy collapses, unfortunately, South Africa will collapse with it because unfortunately, every day we'll have ANC in government. It's every day that this country's chances of success are getting lesser. And actually, this leads me to the question with Mary from Pretoria FM in terms of one sentence for the upcoming local election. I can tell you, Action SA, our number one priority is to remove the ANC from power so that people of this country can have an accountable government, can have the government with ethical leadership prepared to serve society instead of saving themselves. However, in terms of coalition, I have already clarified this matter that in the event that voters don't give outright majority, we're working hard, we're working around the clock for outright majority. But ultimately, we're not the ones to really decide. It is our wish for people to give us outright majority so that we can expedite service delivery to the communities we serve. But in the event we are put into a coalition, we are prepared to work with all the other parties, with the exception of the ANC. Under no circumstances, Action SA will work with the ANC, but will work with other parties in the event the voters put us in that situation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mashaba. I think, colleagues, can I take one more round? We do have some time. If we do not, or you're still thinking about your question, I have one question, Mr. Mashaba, from Sikukune. The question is, what would be the position of the electorates where there are Action SA structures in other provinces? Where should their votes go?
My goodness. Lerato, I really wish I had the wisdom, I had the answer to. It is one of the most difficult questions that I have to confront every minute of my life. It hurts me, and it deeply hurts me every time I get this type of questions from people and communities that are looking for intervention. And I'm saying to them, please allow us to focus on few municipalities, take them over, run them properly while we are preparing for 2024. And I can tell you, I've had people coming to my house, I've people calling me every day. I've got people saying, please, but I know and strongly believe that it'll be the biggest mistake we can make to try and really go out and contest all 278 municipalities this year. I think it'll honestly, strategically, will be the biggest mistake we can make. I'm saying to people, vote for anyone else as long as you don't vote for the ANC.
Well said, Mr. Mashaba. If there are no further questions, colleagues, thank you so very much. I think we have reached the end of our program. Thank you, Mr. Mashaba, for those remarks. We are excited for your campaign to run for mayor. You do have, are going to have other contenders as we go through and undergo the primary system, so that all people, and we want to emphasize this, all people in every ward where voting is going to happen, where primaries are going to happen, you do not have to be an Action SA member to vote for that candidate. You do ask, and we urge you to vote for the best person for the job in your ward, regardless of which political party you belong to. Every single South African where primaries will be taking place is permitted and allowed to participate. You do, however, have to be of voting age. You also have to be registered with the IEC. You also have to have a valid South African ID so you can prove your citizenship. With that, colleagues, thank you so very much. My name is Lerato Ngobeni. You've been an awesome audience. Thank you, South Africa, for always listening to us, and also for your participation. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, everybody.